Let's take a look at Inventing the Future. This is Rick Helly's print and play game. He's got a whole series of print and play games. He was kind enough, after I did Founding Fathers, which I really enjoyed, to provide me with a couple of his print and play things. I usually don't like doing print and play. I just don't have the time to do it. In this case, the components are actually pretty easy to print out. You just have these sheets. Of course, you need to have a lot of tokens and stuff, and I probably wouldn't have gotten to this. He sent me a nice care kit of all the tokens. The only thing he didn't send was coins, which I can provide for myself. He suggests poker chips, but coins work fine. And this is going to be a game where the goal is to kind of advance your technologies as much as you can. It's a fairly simple dice allocation game, I guess. It's got a cute mechanism to it. I haven't played a lot of pure dice games. I mean, things like, this isn't pure, obviously, but things like Cosmic Wimbot and stuff. But I'm trying to think a couple of things. Locomotive Works I gave a shot to. I seem to remember, I don't know where the hell it is, Airships was kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure it's one of my favorite mechanisms, but I'm always interested in kind of technology type things, so I wanted to give this a shot. And we'll take a look at how it works. We're going to work our way through the rules. I've kind of had to puzzle through them because they aren't the clearest in the world, for me at least. You know what is. So we'll buzz through them at this point, and then when I get into play, we'll probably see more of how it works, but I'm going to go into it. First of all, we have a bunch of components. These are going to represent different types of teams. And they're going to match different levels of technology, of the technologies in the card, or in the little cards. Actually, I have these kind of arranged wrong. White is the earliest level at research, then we go to blue for test and red for manufacturing. I should have them ordered differently. These guys are just little finance markers. They're used over here to indicate how much cash flow you have, both through public and private financing. These are specialists of different kinds, which are all spelled out here, each with their own special abilities. So like the Rainmaker will make you more money. The two generalists, they count as either type of team that they represent. A recruiter allows you to hire new teams. A troubleshooter lets you change die results, or add new results, I guess. And a consultant allows you, oh no, this allows you to change die results. A consultant allows you to pull an out-of-play die into your pool of dice. Basically what's going to happen in play is it's going to start out, everybody roll, each person in turn kind of rolls a handful of dice, and they basically get one of each color and then one bonus one. And then each player in turn selects dice from that pool that's available, with some differences when you're playing with 2 or 3 players. And then after a certain number, 5 usually, 6 I guess, and 2, although that isn't spelled out correctly in the rules, of these rounds of die rolling and then selecting, then you process through certain phases. The phases are listed across here, and basically if people have chosen those phases, they activate opportunities down in the lower section. See how that all kind of fits together. Would be nice if the rules kind of explained that better. I'm kind of making it up as I go from what I can gander from them. They are very procedural in basis. So you set up this board here. You have a pile of coins. You have some of these little tiddlywinks. This is going to be your scoring track, and it's going to match. I'm going to turn some of these up. It's going to match locations on the cards. So this card would be facing this way. They always face in the direction of the arrow. And we'd kind of align this, so if you make it up to level 1 in there, you're worth 2 points at the end of the game. And then these are going to be the costs to achieve that level in terms of teams that have to be allocated. We'll see a little bit about how that works. Okay, so like I said, the first thing that happens is you're going to go through these dice allocation phases, and whoever the start player is who has this nifty little barrel, like I said, picks one of each color of dice, and then he's allowed to pick one additional color as to sort of a, well, I probably want to focus on that color, or maybe that color doesn't help anyone else as much as it helps me. And then they grab their dice and they roll them. Boom. And then what they're going to do is they look at the different colors and the numbers on them, and they get to choose one of those colors and one of those dice to match what they want to put on the board. So if it was this guy's turn, well, he might want to put either the third black space, the hiring space, which would trigger a hiring event, or the fifth space, which is a wild card. These two are wild cards. You get to pick any black you like for that. Red, he would only be able to place a tiddlywink here. So he could take one die out of play and then say play this. That may not be the best play, but we have no idea. We're kind of learning the game as we go. Okay, and then the next player in line, say over here, would say, okay, now I get to choose a die. I'm going to take the blue 5 for some reason, and that allows a certain level of progress to be taken when that comes around. Once everybody's selected, one of the goals is to kind of match what people, including yourself, have put up here on the phases that are going to get played with what's going to be down here. And that's kind of the meat and the heart of the game from what I can extract of it. Again, not mentioned in the rules. There is a playthrough example which I've had to refer to a little bit. So, the person to the right of the person with the start player finds the box on their black row containing a wink, one of these. If they have none, you have to keep going until somebody has chosen one of these suckers. And then based on what that wink is, you'll activate that phase. And everybody's going to get to activate their phase based on that wink. And anyone else who's on that same space is going to remove their wink from that space. Basically, each phase only gets triggered once. So if you double up on it, it doesn't do you any good. So you kind of just don't want to do that, I guess. You might get forced into it, I suppose. And each of the phases has its own rules, and each one also comes with kind of a bonus that's given to the person for choosing that phase and triggering it. So let's take a look at them. First is funding, and your bonus for funding is you get a specialist cube, which is what this iconography means. That's one of the large cubes that represents one of these down here. Then each player who has a wink in the funding row triggers that activity. These instructions will either increase their public or private incomes, which are these cubes here, and that would be noted by these, or they give cash directly, which is like this. It says, hey, you have 3 coins. And there's a bank of 40 coins, or 40 billion credits, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure that's actually a design limit. It specifies that, and you know, I mean, it's a print and play game, but it also, these actually do have a design limit to them. I'm just not sure the coins do. Now, at this point, if you have the Rainmaker, you get an extra billion income of either type during funding. Payday, the person who chooses this gets 2 coins, and then everybody's going to get paid out. Their income is going to be the lesser of the public and private funding. And then this amount is going to be compared to the number of cubes that person's got employed, both regular teams and their specialists. And if their funding is greater than the number of teams they have, they get extra cash. If it's less, they lose cash equal to the difference. If they can't pay everyone, they have to start removing teams in order to make up for that. The next option is hiring. The bonus for this is you can take a specialist of your choice, just like funding. And then in the hiring phase, everybody's going to worry about their winks over here in the hiring section. And they're going to get stuff based on where they have winks. So and these are on multiple sections. So for example, here you would get a red cube and you would get a specialist of your choice. You don't have to take the effect, but you do have, if you do take part of it, you have to take all of it. If there aren't enough cubes of the type desired or mandated in the pool, you can steal them from someone else. If you have the recruiter during this phase, you get a bonus team, which is the red, white, and blue. All right, now things get confusing. The last one's the progress phase. Your bonus for picking this is you get a free team. So these cards are your advancement tracks. The instructions in a wink on the progress section tell you how many spaces you can advance with a pawn in that color's track for the round. I guess the different colors match the different types of items that you're going to be researching. So again, if you're interested in researching time travel, you're going to be placing down here on the red side of things, which is the manufacturing cube. I'm not quite sure why that corresponds in the way it does, but we do know that this produces red cubes, which makes a different sort of sense because that's going to be your final layer up here. So if you are at the starting position like this, and let's say I had the ability to advance 3 here, well, I could turn this over. Once I do that, I'm committed to having to meet this if I can. And then what I do is I can commit a white cube to advancing me here, and that would be the first level. If I wanted to make the second level, it would take 2 white cubes and 2 blue cubes. And now, you're allowed to use the same cube on multiple levels on the same track. Which basically you have to commit your cubes to one particular progress wink that you have in play. So if I had both of these in play, I couldn't use a white cube on this track and then try to use it on this track at the same time. I'd have to use other white cubes for that. But a white cube that I commit here works all the way up the track if I have enough advancement and enough cubes total. Some of the mystery is that these all start face down, so you can't be sure what your advancement requirements are going to be when you're placing these down, unless somebody's revealed it already and kind of shown you the way. Okay. once you essentially clear out all of these, the next player becomes the start player, and you keep going. The game will end when all three of the items have been produced, and there's at least one pawn in the top spot in each of the three items. Immediately after that, the phase in which that happens, what is a phase? I say a phase would be the entire table resolution. So we'd have to go through essentially that whole segment. I don't think it's possible during dice allocation that it can happen. So essentially it's at the end of a turn. Then you'll be getting score based on how far each of your tracks has progressed, and you have one colored pawn on each track, and you get points just based on where you locate there. And then there's special rules for 2 players, which is you're going to be using 6 winks instead of 5, which you're going to be on each set of die rolls, instead of getting only one of those dice, you're going to get 2, and it's done in a serpentine manner. So like the first player gets to pick the one he wants, the second player gets to pick 2 in a row that they want, and then we go back to the first player to pick one. For 3 players, it's also that way. And it is also done in that switchback or serpentine, or however you want to put it. And in this case, the black phases are done also in switchback. So the start player chooses 1, then the other player chooses 2, and then the start player chooses a final one. That doesn't look like it belongs there. That looks like it belongs up here, actually, interestingly enough. Another thing in the setup, it's not really caught in the rules, it almost sounds like you'd put the first layer of cards down, and then all the level 2 cards, and then all the level 3. But once you look at the scoring sheet, it's obvious that that's not going to work. Oh, I'm sorry, here we are on the 3-player rules. 3-player rules, yeah. 3-player rules, in each round, if no player has chosen progress, there's an automatic progress phase following the phases which have been chosen. And that'll go to the first player first. And then we have a little sort of an idea of the of play and a little playthrough here. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm going to try to set this up. I don't know how many players I want to do. I certainly want to do at least 4. It'll hold 5. I might just go with 4 for the simple fact, just to reduce the difficulty a little bit. I feel like this is not a game that's going to tell much of a story, really. It's more of a struggling with the strategy and what the different what the different options work with. And I think the less players I have for something like that, the better it's going to be. I don't fear something like somebody getting total control of the board like in an 18xx game. So we'll send this up.